My friend, we need to talk. You're carrying way too much. And I don't mean your groceries or your workload. I'm talking about all the stuff weighing you down inside. The stress, the overthinking, the toxic people, the bad habits that keep you stuck in the same loop. You feel exhausted, drained, and maybe you don't even know why. But let me ask you this. Why are you still holding on to things that don't serve you? I don't know you personally, but I do know this. You deserve better than this cycle you're in. And no, you don't need anyone's permission to break free. You don't need to make a huge announcement or wait for the stars to align. Just quietly, intentionally, start letting go. Because here's the truth. Your peace is more valuable than someone else's expectations. In today's video, we're breaking down 10 things that are secretly draining your energy. Things you might not even realize are holding you back. Some of them will surprise you. And the last one, it'll change the way you see your life forever. So, if you've been feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or just off lately, this is your sign. Start today. In silence. No more excuses. Are you ready? Good. But first, let me tell you a story. Because once you hear it, you'll understand why letting go isn't just important. It's necessary. High up in the mountains lived an old traveler named Samuel. For years, he had wandered countless paths, always carrying a large sack filled with things he considered important. There were books he never read, rusty tools he never used, and keepsakes from the past that served no purpose other than taking up space. Samuel believed that everything in his sack had value, until one day, while making his way up a steep trail, he started to notice how the weight on his shoulders was draining his energy more than ever. With each step, his legs trembled, his breath grew heavy, and the path seemed endless. Suddenly, an unexpected storm swept across the mountain. The wind howled, the rain made the ground slippery, and Samuel struggled to move forward. But his heavy load made him slow and unsteady. He stumbled several times until, standing at the edge of a dangerous drop, he realized that the weight he was carrying wasn't just making his journey harder, it was putting his life at risk. With his heart pounding, he made a difficult but necessary choice. He opened his sack and started letting go of what no longer served him. First, he dropped the books he never read, then the rusty tools, and finally even the keepsakes he had clung to out of habit. With each item he released, his body felt lighter and his steps became steadier. When the storm finally passed, Samuel found himself standing at the mountain's peak, gazing at the horizon with a sense of relief he had never known before. He realized he had never truly needed all the things he had carried. His journey wasn't about the weight on his back. It was about his ability to move forward without it. As he made his way down, a young traveler asked him how he had managed to survive the storm without falling. Samuel smiled and replied, "Sometimes we think holding on makes us strong, but in reality, true strength lies in knowing when to let go." If you find these videos helpful, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay updated with the latest content. Let's get started. Lesson 1, the addiction to overthinking. My friend, you think too much. And I don't say that to call you out. I say it because I've been there, sitting around running circles in my own head, convinced that if I just thought a little harder, I'd crack the code to life. But let me tell you something. Overthinking is nothing but fear in disguise. Fear of messing up, fear of looking foolish, fear that if you don't make the right choice, you'll regret it forever. And yet, while you sit there analyzing every possible outcome, life moves forward without you. You ever notice how some people just seem to get things done? They don't waste time second-guessing every little thing. They just act, and somehow, things seem to work out for them. You know why? Because they understand that hesitation is the real enemy, not failure. They know that momentum is everything, that action breeds clarity while overthinking only breeds doubt. You see, overthinking convinces you that you're being smart, that you're protecting yourself from making mistakes. But what if I told you the real mistake is staying stuck in your own head? Because the truth is, no matter how much you analyze a situation, you'll never have all the answers. You can plan, you can predict, but life will still surprise you. And while you're busy calculating the perfect move, opportunities are slipping through your fingers. I know what you're thinking, but I just want to make the best decision, and I get it. Nobody wants to fail, but let me ask you something. How many times has overthinking actually helped you? Has it ever given you absolute certainty? Or has it only made you feel exhausted, frustrated, and paralyzed? because that's what overthinking does. It doesn't bring solutions. It just keeps you running in mental circles, drowning in possibilities until you're too drained to act. And let's be real, most of the time, we're not even overthinking because the decision is that important. We're overthinking because we're scared of looking stupid, scared of making the wrong choice, scared of what people might say. But here's the truth. Nobody's paying as much attention as you think they are. People are too busy dealing with their own problems to scrutinize your every move. And even if they did, so what? Their opinions don't change the fact that the only way to move forward is to move. So how do you stop overthinking? Simple. You start acting before your mind talks you out of it. Set a time limit on decisions, 5 minutes for small choices, a day for bigger ones, and then commit. Stop aiming for perfection. The perfect decision doesn't exist. Make the best choice you can with what you have and adjust as you go. Trust yourself. You're smarter than you give yourself credit for, and the more you act, the more confidence you'll build. Because here's the thing, overthinking won't prevent failure, but it will guarantee regret. And regret is far worse than making a wrong turn. At least when you make a choice, you learn something, you grow, you gain experience. But when you stay stuck in indecision, all you get is wasted time. And let me tell you, time is the one thing you can never get back. Life moves fast, my friend, and while you're trapped in your head, it's passing you by. So, do yourself a favor. Get out of your own way, make the decision, take the step. Trust that you'll figure things out as you go, because that's exactly how life is meant to be lived. Lesson 2. Cutting off the wrong people. Listen, let's get real for a second. Not everyone in your life is meant to stay. And I know that's tough to swallow, but it's the truth. There are people in your life right now who, honestly, are just weighing you down. I'm talking about those friends who seem to only call when they need something, or the ones who never have anything positive to say. Maybe it's someone who pretends to be happy for you, but deep down, they hope you don't get too far ahead. And yet, for some reason you keep them around. Why? Is it because of the history you share? Or maybe you're afraid of what they'll think if you just start putting yourself first. I get it. It's hard. Letting go of people is never easy, especially when they've been a part of your life for a long time. But here's the thing. It's not your job to carry people who aren't willing to grow. It doesn't matter how much you've invested in them, how long you've known them, or how many memories you've shared. If they're bringing you down, it's time to seriously reevaluate the relationship. Life is hard enough without holding on to things and people that are draining your energy. You might tell yourself, well, they're not that bad, or I don't want to end up alone. But I want you to really think about it. Do you already feel alone when you're with them? Are you walking away from every interaction with a sense of frustration, exhaustion, or disappointment? If the answer is yes, then you know what you need to do. Here's the reality. Relationships should be about adding value to your life. The right people make you feel seen, heard, understood, and supported in ways that push you to be the best version of yourself. But the wrong ones, they'll keep you stuck. They'll hold you back from growing, make you feel guilty for changing, or worse, pull you back to a version of yourself that you've outgrown. So how do you know when it's time to move on? It's simple. Ask yourself if you feel better or worse after spending time with this person. If the answer is worse, then there's your sign. Trust me, you don't need any more validation than that. Now, I'm not saying you need to make a dramatic exit or burn bridges. You don't need to send long messages explaining your decision or make a scene. No, it's about something much simpler. Stop making the effort. Don't chase people who don't care to be in your life. Start creating the space you deserve, without guilt, without anger, just with the quiet understanding that you're choosing you. And when you do this, you might face some pushback. Some people won't understand why you're pulling away, and they'll try to make you feel bad for it. But here's the thing. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't owe anyone your energy. And if someone isn't making your life better, they have no place in it. It's not going to be easy, but let me tell you something. Once you start cutting out the wrong people, you'll start to notice the right ones slipping in. Real friends, people who genuinely care, who lift you up, who support your growth and want to see you succeed. And here's the kicker. The right people don't take your energy. They amplify it. They make you feel lighter, freer, and more yourself. And when you stop holding on to the wrong people, you create space for these people to enter your life. So, if someone is draining you, it's time to let them go. Quietly, without drama, and without guilt. Because the truth is, every moment you spend with people who don't deserve your time is a moment you could be spending with people who do. So, take back your energy, take back your peace, and don't look back. Lesson 3, the power of letting go. You ever notice how much we hold on to things that don't serve us? Old regrets, past mistakes, things people said years ago that still echo in the back of our minds. It's like carrying a heavy bag on a long journey and refusing to put it down, even when our shoulders ache and our legs can barely take another step. But here's the thing, you don't have to keep carrying it. You can let go. And I know that sounds easier said than done. Some things feel impossible to release, like they're stitched into our very being. But the truth is, letting go isn't about forgetting, and it's not about pretending something didn't happen. It's about making peace with it. It's about deciding that your past doesn't get to control your future. A lot of people mistake letting go for weakness, like it's some kind of surrender. But what if I told you that true strength isn't in holding on? It's in knowing when to release. Think about it. Holding on to resentment, to guilt, to the things that didn't go your way, does it make you feel strong, or does it drain you? Picture this. You're climbing a mountain, and with every bad memory, every regret, every bit of anger, another stone gets added to your backpack. At first, it's manageable. A little weight doesn't seem like a big deal, but step by step, year by year, that bag gets heavier. Suddenly you're struggling. Every step feels like a battle. And the worst part, most of those stones don't even belong to you anymore. They're words someone else said, expectations that were placed on you, failures that should have been left behind long ago. Do you want to be the Samuel that is struggling to climb the mountain because of the extra weight in his backpack, or the lightweight Samuel that has already reached the top without problems? I know you got the message. This mountain we are talking about, my friend, is your life. So why are you still carrying this heavy burden? Letting go is a choice, and it's not a one-time decision. It's something you practice, something you get better at. You start by recognizing what's weighing you down. Is it something someone did to you? Something you did to yourself? A dream that didn't work out? Whatever it is, ask yourself, does holding on to this make my life better? Does it bring me peace? If the answer is no, then why let it take up space in your heart? Some people say time heals all wounds, but I don't think that's entirely true. You heal when you decide to. Time passes whether you choose to move on or not. The real question is, how much longer do you want to let the past dictate your present? Now, don't get me wrong. Letting go isn't about ignoring emotions or pretending things didn't hurt. It's about acknowledging the pain, learning from it, and then setting it down so you can move forward. Imagine if every great person in history had let their failures define them. If they had let fear keep them stuck. We wouldn't have half the inventions, art, or ideas that changed the world. Your life isn't meant to be lived in the shadow of what was. It's meant to be lived in the light of what's possible. But you can't step into that light if you're dragging around the weight of things that no longer serve you. So, let's make this real. Right now, think of one thing, just one, that you know has been weighing you down. Maybe it's a mistake you made, a person who hurt you, or a situation that didn't go the way you wanted. Whatever it is, imagine yourself setting it down. Imagine what life would feel like without it pressing on your shoulders. Lighter, right? Because at the end of the day, life isn't about collecting burdens. It's about moving forward. And the strongest people, they aren't the ones gripping onto the past. They're the ones who know when to let it go. Lesson 4, the trap of unrealistic expectations. You ever feel like no matter what you do, it's never quite enough? Like you should be further ahead, doing better, achieving more? It's exhausting, isn't it? It's like chasing a finish line that keeps moving the moment you get close. The truth is, we've all been there. We set these massive expectations for ourselves, sometimes without even realizing it. We picture the perfect career, the perfect relationship, the perfect version of who we're supposed to be. And when reality doesn't match up, we start feeling like we failed, like we're behind, like everyone else has figured it out except us. But let's be real for a second. Where do these expectations even come from? Sometimes they're planted in us early, by family, by society, by the stories we hear about what success should look like. Other times, we create them ourselves, convincing ourselves that anything less than perfection means we're doing something wrong. But life doesn't work that way. It's messy, unpredictable, full of detours and surprises. And more often than not, The version of success we had in our heads at 18, at 25, even at 40, doesn't quite match up with what actually brings us joy. So, what if instead of holding ourselves to impossible standards, we started embracing what is? What if we measured success not by some grand idea of perfection, but by progress, by growth, by how much we actually enjoy the life we're living? Think about it. Some of the happiest people you know probably don't have the perfect life, but they've learned something most of us struggle with: how to be okay with where they are, even while working toward where they want to be. That doesn't mean settling. It doesn't mean giving up on ambition or growth. It just means recognizing that your timeline is yours alone, that just because someone else seems further ahead doesn't mean you're behind, that just because something didn't happen exactly the way you imagined doesn't mean it wasn't meant for you. And let's talk about failure for a second, because a lot of our unrealistic expectations come from this fear of messing up. We think if we don't get it right the first time, we've somehow ruined our chance. But failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. It's the thing that teaches us, redirects us, helps us grow into the people we're supposed to be. Think about some of the most inspiring people in history, the ones who changed the world, created something meaningful, made a real impact. Do you think their journeys were perfect? Not even close. They stumbled, they got rejected, they had to start over more times than they could count. But they kept going, they adjusted, they allowed their expectations to evolve instead of letting them crush them. So, maybe that's the real lesson here. Instead of being so attached to how things are supposed to happen, we start focusing on what really matters: growth, fulfillment, peace of mind. Because at the end of the day, what's more important? Looking like you have it all together, or actually feeling good about the life you're living? So here's my challenge for you. Take a deep breath and let go just a little of the pressure you're putting on yourself. Be proud of where you are, even if it's not where you thought you'd be by now. Recognize how far you've come, even if the road wasn't as straight as you planned. And most importantly, remind yourself, your life isn't meant to be a checklist. It's meant to be lived. And when you start seeing it that way, when you stop measuring yourself against expectations that were never really yours to begin with, that's when things start to feel a whole lot lighter. Lesson 5, the beauty of patience. All right, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a rush to get somewhere, physically, emotionally, in life, and felt like you just couldn't get there fast enough? Maybe you've been working tirelessly, making plans and checking off to-do lists, only to find yourself at the same spot, wondering why things aren't happening the way you expected. Sound familiar? Here's the thing. Patience is one of those things that most of us don't fully understand until we have no choice but to practice it. We live in a world that's obsessed with instant gratification. From fast food to social media likes, we're used to getting what we want right now. And don't get me wrong, I get it. There's something nice about getting that immediate reward. But real growth, real success, real change, it takes time. Think about it this way. Have you ever planted a seed and expected it to turn into a tree overnight? Of course not. You know it needs time to grow, and it won't happen unless you're patient. You water it, you give it sunlight, and you wait. But here's where the magic happens. You don't stop tending to the tree just because it's not showing results right away. You trust the process. You have faith that, if you continue to care for it, it'll eventually grow into something strong and beautiful. Now, here's the kicker. Life works in much the same way. Whether you're building a career, improving your relationships, or working on your personal growth, things take time. And I know that can be frustrating. It's easy to get discouraged when things aren't happening fast enough. But if you step back for a second, you'll realize that growth often happens in ways we don't immediately notice. It's slow, it's quiet, but man, is it powerful. Here's where I want you to shift your perspective. Instead of thinking of patience as something you have to do, think of it as something you get to do. Patience gives you the space to learn, to understand, and to develop into the person you're becoming. It's not about waiting idly for things to happen. It's about letting things unfold at their own pace and trusting that the timing is right, even when it doesn't make sense to you. And I'm not saying this is easy. I know how hard it can be to watch others move ahead while you feel like you're standing still. But here's the thing. You're not standing still. You're building a foundation. You're learning lessons that will serve you for the rest of your life. And guess what? It's okay if things don't always go according to plan. Life's unpredictable, and that's where the beauty lies. What I want you to take away from this is that by practicing patience, you're actually choosing to live with intention. You're telling yourself that you're okay with the process. You're trusting the journey instead of constantly chasing the destination. Because, my friend, the journey is where all the lessons and experiences are. And when you look back on it one day, you'll realize how far you've come, even though it felt like the world was moving so slowly at the time. So, the next time you feel that impatience creeping in, just remember this. It's okay to not have it all figured out right now. You're exactly where you need to be. It might not look like it, but things are working themselves out in ways you can't always see. Trust in the timing, trust in yourself, and most importantly, trust in the process. I know patience can feel like the hardest thing sometimes, especially when it seems like everyone else is moving faster than you. But I'm telling you, growth isn't a race. It's a personal journey. Take your time, do it your way, and give yourself the grace to slow down, breathe, and enjoy the ride. Life has a way of unfolding when it's meant to, and all you have to do is show up and trust that it will. You've got this. Keep going, one step at a time. Lesson 6, the power of small daily habits. You know, sometimes we think we need grand, dramatic changes in our lives to make everything better. We set our sights on big goals, but in reality, it's the little habits that truly shape us. It's the small things, done consistently, that turn into bigger changes. And when you think about it, our daily habits are like the foundation of a house. You can't just throw a roof on and expect the house to stand. No, it's those little bricks, laid one after the other, that give the structure its strength. I know it might sound a bit cliché, but hear me out. Small habits done consistently lead to big results. Trust me, it's not about changing everything overnight. It's about showing up every day, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Because when you look back months or even years later, you realize how much progress you've made. For instance, think about your morning routine. What do you do first thing when you wake up? Do you check your phone right away, hit snooze, and go back to sleep? Or do you take a moment to just breathe, stretch, and set an intention for the day? It's crazy how much a small shift in the first few minutes of your day can set the tone for everything that follows. You don't need to overhaul your entire routine, but maybe try setting the phone aside for the first 10 minutes after waking up. Take a few deep breaths, check in with yourself, and see how that changes your mood and mindset. Another thing I've noticed is that the habits we think are small are often the ones we overlook the most. Things like drinking enough water, getting some fresh air, or eating a balanced meal. Sounds simple, right? But how often do we rush through the day without considering these basic needs? We get so caught up in the hustle and the chaos that we forget our bodies need some attention too. And it's not just about physical health, it affects your mind too. When you take care of yourself, even in the simplest ways, you're creating a foundation of well-being that will keep you strong through whatever life throws at you. But here's where things get tricky. It's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking, well, one day won't hurt, I'll start tomorrow. And we've all been there, right? Procrastinating on taking care of ourselves because we think we have all the time in the world. But the thing is, one day becomes two, and two turns into a week, and before you know it, we're back at square one. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we need to be perfect. Nobody is, but consistency, that's the secret sauce. Imagine if you spent 10 minutes a day reading or journaling, or going for a walk, or practicing mindfulness. These tiny pockets of time add up. It doesn't matter if you're not getting a whole hour in one go. It's not about perfection, it's about making progress. Slowly, those 10 minutes here and there turn into a habit, and that habit starts shifting your life in ways you can't always see right away. Let's be honest, we often overestimate what we can achieve in a day and underestimate what we can achieve in a week, a month, or even a year. Those small actions, they compound over time. The trick is to just show up, even when it feels like you're not getting anywhere, even when your mind tells you that it doesn't matter. Because, trust me, it does. And you know what? It's okay to slip up. Nobody's perfect. The key is to just get back at it. Don't let one bad day turn into a bad week or month. Instead of feeling guilty, take a moment to reflect on what happened and get back on track. Because the beauty of habits is that they don't just vanish if you miss a day. They're there, waiting for you to pick them back up. Another thing I want to mention is that small habits can be powerful in creating momentum. You start with one little change, and it builds. You'll notice that once you establish one healthy habit, it becomes easier to add more. It's like a domino effect. One good choice leads to another, and before you know it, you're doing things you never thought you could. That's the power of consistency. The point I'm trying to make here is that it's not about waiting for the perfect moment. It's not about waiting for a day when everything falls into place. Because guess what? That day doesn't come. Life is never perfect. And trying to wait for everything to be just right is a trap. The perfect time to start is now. It's today. The sooner you start building those habits, the sooner you'll see the fruits of your labor. If you start today, you'll be amazed at how much progress you can make in the long run. And more importantly, you'll feel more in control of your life. It's about taking small steps that lead to big changes, even when you can't see it right away. And before you know it, you'll be looking back and realizing that those little habits built a solid foundation for the life you're living. At the end of the day, life is a marathon, not a sprint. It's not about winning or losing. It's about showing up, doing the work, and being kind to yourself along the way. Your small habits will carry you further than you can imagine, so why not start today? Lesson 7, the art of choosing your battles. You ever feel like you're constantly fighting, arguing with people, getting frustrated over things that don't go your way, or stressing about problems that, if we're being honest, won't even matter a year from now? Yeah, we've all been there. Life throws so much at us, and it's easy to feel like we have to respond to every challenge, prove every point, and fix every little thing. But let me ask you something. How many of those battles are actually worth your time and energy? Because, my friend, not every hill is worth dying on. Not every argument needs a rebuttal, and not every problem is yours to solve. Look, I get it. You want to stand up for yourself. You want to be heard. And sometimes, you just want things to go your way for once. But here's the truth. Fighting every battle drains you. It wears you down. And if you're not careful, you'll wake up one day completely exhausted, realizing you spent your energy on things that didn't truly matter. The reality is, some things in life deserve your attention, and some things just don't. The secret to peace isn't winning every fight. It's knowing which fights are even worth showing up for. So, how do you know what's worth it? Well, here's something I've learned. Before engaging in any battle, whether it's an argument, a stressful situation, or a decision that's making you crazy, ask yourself 3 simple questions. Will this matter in a year? Seriously, zoom out. If the thing you're upset about won't even cross your mind a year from now, why waste your energy on it today? Is this battle actually mine to fight? Sometimes we take on problems that aren't even ours, trying to fix people, situations, or circumstances we have no control over. Let that go. Does this align with who I want to be? If fighting this battle makes you feel bitter, drained, or like someone you don't want to be, then it's probably not worth it. Now, don't get me wrong, some fights are worth it. Standing up for yourself, worth it. Protecting your peace, worth it. Defending what you truly believe in, absolutely worth it. But the random arguments, the need to be right all the time, the small inconveniences that send you into a spiral, that's the stuff that's stealing your energy. Think about it like this. Every time you give your energy to a meaningless battle, you're taking away energy from something that actually deserves it. You could be using that time to focus on your goals, on things that bring you joy, on people who actually matter. But instead, you're stuck in some pointless argument, overthinking something someone said, or getting worked up over something you won't even remember in a week. And listen, I'm not saying it's easy to just let things go. It's hard, it takes practice. But every time you choose peace over unnecessary conflict, you're building a stronger, calmer, more in-control version of yourself. You're proving to yourself that your energy is valuable, and you're not going to waste it on nonsense. So next time you feel yourself getting ready to fight a battle, pause for a second. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself if it's truly worth it. And if it's not, let it go. Walk away. Protect your energy. Because at the end of the day, the strongest people aren't the ones who fight every battle. They're the ones who know when to walk away from the ones that don't matter. Lesson 8. The hidden power of small wins. You ever feel like you're constantly chasing something big? That one huge goal, that dream life, that perfect moment when everything finally comes together? We all do. And don't get me wrong, having big goals is great. But there's a problem with always thinking about the big picture. It makes you blind to the small victories happening every single day. Here's the thing. We're wired to think that progress has to be massive and immediate. We want overnight success. We want dramatic transformations. But real change, real success, it doesn't happen in one giant leap. It happens in the tiny steps you take every single day. Think about it. When was the last time you actually celebrated yourself for something small? Maybe you woke up a little earlier than usual. Maybe you finally got started on that project you've been avoiding. Maybe you just made it through a tough day without falling apart. Those are wins, and they matter. The problem is, we don't see them as victories. We brush them off like they don't count. We convince ourselves that unless we're achieving something huge, we're failing. But that's a lie. The truth is, every little step forward is proof that you're growing. Every tiny effort is shaping you into the person you want to become. Let's put it this way. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. If you spend the whole time staring at the peak, thinking about how far you still have to go, you're going to feel exhausted before you even get halfway. But if you stop every now and then, look back, and see how far you've come, that's what gives you the strength to keep going. The same applies to your life. If you never acknowledge your small wins, you'll always feel like you're behind, like you're not doing enough. But if you take a moment to recognize every little step you've taken, suddenly you realize you're actually making progress, even if it's slower than you'd like. And here's something even crazier. Those small wins, they build momentum. Every tiny achievement gives you the confidence to take the next step. It's like stacking bricks. One by one, they might not seem like much, but over time, they create something solid, something real. So how do you start noticing your small wins? Simple. At the end of each day, take a second, just a second, to ask yourself, what's one thing I did today that moved me forward? Doesn't matter how small it is. Maybe you resisted the urge to scroll on your phone for an hour. Maybe you spoke up when you normally would have stayed quiet. Maybe you just showed up. That's a win. And when you start recognizing them, something amazing happens. You stop feeling like you're failing all the time. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should settle for the bare minimum. Keep pushing yourself. Keep reaching for big things. But don't let the obsession with the big picture make you forget about the small victories along the way. Because at the end of the day, success isn't one massive moment. It's a collection of tiny moments stacked on top of each other. So start paying attention. Celebrate the little things, because those little things, they're what will get you to the big ones. Lesson 9, the illusion of the right time. How many times have you told yourself, I'll do it when the time is right? Maybe it's starting that project you've been thinking about for years. Maybe it's having that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's finally making a change in your life that you know deep down needs to happen, but you keep waiting. Waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect mindset, the perfect set of circumstances. You tell yourself, I'll start when I have more money, when I feel more confident, when I have more time, when things settle down. And guess what? That right time never comes. Because the truth is, it doesn't exist. Life is messy, it's unpredictable. There will always be some reason to wait, some excuse, some fear, some tiny voice in the back of your mind telling you that now isn't the right time. And before you know it, months pass, then years. And one day, you wake up realizing you spent more time preparing for life than actually living it. The people who achieve things, the ones who break free from the cycle of hesitation, they don't do it because the stars magically aligned for them. They do it because they decided to start anyway. They didn't wait until they were fully ready. They started when they were scared, unsure, and full of doubts. And that's what made them grow. Think about it. Have you ever met a person who got somewhere in life and said, I wish I had waited longer to start? No, because action creates momentum. Starting, even imperfectly, is better than standing still. And before you tell yourself that you're not ready, let me ask you this. What if you never feel ready? What if the version of you that you're waiting for, the one who's braver, smarter, more prepared, only exists if you start now? Most of the time, we convince ourselves that waiting is the smart thing to do, that we're being responsible, thoughtful, strategic. But deep down, if we're being really honest, waiting is usually just fear in disguise. Fear of failure, fear of what others will think, fear of putting in the effort and not getting the result we want. But let me tell you something. The biggest failure isn't trying and falling short. It's never trying at all. Regret is heavier than failure. I promise you, years from now, you won't look back and say, "I wish I had waited longer." No, you'll regret the things you never started, the ideas you left in your head, the dreams you put on hold for a better time that never came. So here's what I want you to do. Pick one thing you've been putting off, just one. And instead of waiting for the stars to align, take a tiny action today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Send the email, make the call, write the first page, have the conversation, take the first step. Even if it's small, even if it's messy, just start. Because the right time isn't something you wait for. It's something you create by taking action. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you start living. Lesson 10. The lies you tell yourself. We've spent this whole journey talking about things you need to eliminate. Expectations, bad habits, toxic influences, clutter, and distractions. But there's one thing above all that you must let go of if you want to live a life that truly belongs to you. The lies you tell yourself. And before you say, "I don't lie to myself," let's be real. We all do it. Some of these lies are small, harmless even. But others, they keep you stuck. They stop you from becoming who you could be. Here's the harsh truth. The biggest obstacles in your life aren't out there in the world. They're the ones you've built inside your own mind. Lies like, "I'm not good enough." You tell yourself this whenever you hesitate to chase something bigger. You look at others and think they have something you don't. More talent, more luck, more confidence. But the truth? The only thing they have is the courage to try. No one is born ready. People don't start because they're confident. They become confident because they start. And you're just as capable as anyone else. The only difference between you and the people doing what you wish you could do is that they didn't listen to this lie. They tried anyway. I have time. One of the most dangerous lies you can believe. You think you'll get to it someday. You assume there will always be another chance, another day, another opportunity. But there are no guarantees. You don't know how much time you have, and you don't want to wake up one day realizing you wasted years waiting for the right moment that never came. If something matters to you, don't put it off. Don't assume that future you will be more motivated, more ready, more capable. The best time to start? It was yesterday. The second best time? Right now. It's too late for me. You think you missed your window, that you should have started younger, taken different paths, made different choices. But here's something you need to understand. The version of you right now is the youngest you'll ever be again. If you're breathing, you're not out of time. You're in time. The only thing standing between you and the life you want is the belief that it's still possible. And let me tell you, it is. But only if you stop feeding yourself the lie that the opportunity is gone. There are people in their 60s starting new businesses. People in their 40s getting in the best shape of their lives. People in their 30s completely reinventing themselves. If they can do it, why not you? I need to be perfect. This one keeps you paralyzed. You won't start until you have the perfect plan, the perfect skills, the perfect conditions. But that's just another excuse. Perfection isn't a starting point, it's a myth. No one gets it right the first time. The most successful people, they're just the ones who were willing to be bad at something before they got good. So, let go of the idea that you need to have it all figured out. Take messy action. Learn as you go. Progress beats perfection every time. I'm stuck. You're not. You just believe you are. Being stuck is a mindset, not a reality. There is always a way forward, but sometimes that way forward requires you to let go of the version of yourself that got you here. Maybe you're not stuck. Maybe you're just afraid of what comes next. Maybe the only thing keeping you in place is the belief that you don't have options. But you do. There is always a next step. The problem isn't that you're stuck, it's that you haven't taken it yet. So, what's the solution? It's simple. You stop feeding yourself these lies. You replace them with truth. Not wishful thinking, not empty motivation, but real, undeniable truth. You are capable. You do have time, if you stop wasting it. You're not too late if you start now. You don't need to be perfect, and you are never truly stuck. The moment you stop lying to yourself, you take your power back. Because the truth is, your life is yours. The only thing standing in your way isn't your past, your circumstances, or your mistakes. It's the stories you tell yourself about what's possible. So, stop waiting, stop hesitating, stop convincing yourself that you need permission to live the life you want. Let go of the lies, because once you do, there's nothing stopping you anymore. So here we are, 10 lessons, 10 truths, and one undeniable reality. Your life is shaped by what you choose to hold on to and what you have the courage to let go of. This journey wasn't just about pointing out the things weighing you down. It was about showing you that you have the power to free yourself. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to settle. You don't have to keep carrying burdens that no longer serve you. The question now is, what will you do with this? Because knowledge alone doesn't change anything. Action does, reflection does. That moment when you stop, look at your life, and decide, enough, I'm ready to change. Which lesson hit home the hardest for you? Have you ever experienced a moment where letting go of something changed everything? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and your story might just be what someone else needs to hear today. And if this message resonated with you, if you found value in these lessons, do me a favor, hit that like button. It helps more than you know. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to The Awakened Self and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. Because this journey isn't over. We have so much more to explore together. More lessons, more stories, and more ways to step into the life you were meant to live. Thank you for being here, for showing up, for being willing to grow. I appreciate you more than words can say. Until next time, stay present, stay awake, and keep moving forward.